Hi, how you doing? My name's Kris. This is Timur and Timurid Empire. That's what it is. I'm telling you, that's what it is. My nose is itchy. Alright, I'm back. It's a good thing I didn't let you see me itching my nose. That would have been weird. So I've got a little cookie sandwich that I made from the grocery store that I bought it from. They made it. It's got frosting in it. But shouldn't have put it in the refrigerator as overnight as I did. Hey, you're not getting any of this. Holy crap. The frosting should be softer. It's like imagine having two delicious cookies, Oreo and chocolate chip cookies, right? And a cinder block in the middle. It's not as delicious then, is it? I mean, it even. This is. I mean, it sounds like it's got weight in it. It's a little bit of lead. Just a second, please. Please hold. Okay. Sorry, we're back. Before we get started, you can click that thumbs up. Helps me out tremendously. Subscribe to the channel if you like the content. Click on the thanks button if you want to donate to the channel. I dropped something in my lap and it's gone now. So I guess my body just absorbed it. What is going on with these lights? I'm getting annoyed. I'm going to fix them. Second. Okay, fixed them. And then they went back to normal. And then I went back to normal and they fixed. What? There you go. All right, this is part 4. I'm going to eat that cookie. It's... Yep. All right.
Samarkand's position at the heart of a great empire drew enormous wealth to the city, in spite of the many wars and the bloodshed and destruction that Timur's wars created across the Middle East and Central Asia. We have a particularly illuminating account of his court and the city of Samarkand right at the end of Timur's reign, which notes the splendor of the capital. This came from the pen of Ruy González de Clavijo.
Is that a pool? That looks like a pool. And this looks like where the water would splash over and kind of run over. What the hell is that? That looks like the sky or a waterfall. Get off my foot.
A nobleman of the Kingdom of Castile in Spain. In 1403, he was dispatched by the King of Castile, Henry III, to the court of the great new emperor, whom even the ruler of a kingdom as far away as Castile in Spain had heard of. He would write an extensive travel diary of his journey and his impressions of the lands he passed through. Clavijo's embassy aimed to establish contact with Timur and possibly negotiate trade and military alliances with him. This was an era in which the Castilians and other Europeans were looking to find allies that might offset the danger posed by the rise of the Ottoman Empire in the eastern Mediterranean and the possibility of this new Turkish power conquering Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire. When Clavijo arrived to Samarkand in 1404, he was struck by the magnificence of the city, stating that, quote, "The richness and abundance of this great capital and its district is such as is indeed a wonder to behold." He was particularly struck by the way the huge suburbs of fine houses were interspersed with orchards of melons and other fruit. There seemed to be building going on everywhere, and Timur's penchant for perfectionism was noted when it came to erecting mosques and other public buildings. Clavijo was also struck by the abundance of silk everywhere. He calculated that the city probably had a population of 150,000 people, which would have made it about twice the size of London at the time. Clavijo was delighted to learn at Samarkand that Sultan Bayezid I of the fledgling Ottoman Empire had been captured by the Timurids at the Battle of Ankara shortly before he had set off with his embassy from Spain.
So, about this time is, if anyone is interested or cares or remembers, I did some short videos from Cahokia Mounds, which was the Mississippian people. They're by modern-day St. Louis today. It's in Illinois, and they were earth-building people. And the reason why I say that is because they started in the 700s, and civilization pretty much collapsed. They had about a under 800 year run. It was before Christopher Columbus. Well, no, 1492. Yeah, I think they were like 1463. Anyways, they had a population there at the time in America, which was also large. I think they were in the 100,000+ range. They were also bigger than London and Paris at the time. Not combined, but bigger than both of those cities. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's the video that I did. There was a big staircase, and it's just a big thing of dirt, and it's 7 stories tall. The structure today is 7 stories tall. Imagine how tall it was if you take into account that, let's say they were gone by the year 1500. You're talking, I almost said 5,000. You're talking 500 years of erosion and everything like that. So it was a bit taller, I'm sure, but now I think they're trying to put vegetation on it. It has nothing to do with this. They're putting vegetation on it to help kind of stop some of the erosion and whatnot. But
he had died in captivity in 1403, triggering a succession crisis amongst the Ottomans that provided a brief respite for the Byzantines and the other Christian powers in the Balkans, although Constantinople would fall eventually anyway in 1453. Besides this, Clavijo's embassy
Bayezid, when he died, is his body, was it, what's the word? Desecrated? Or do we know where he's buried today and you can go visit it? Or is it pretty much like Timur just got rid of it? That was me. Just got rid of it.
Was ultimately a failure. He and his companions got to see Samarkand and were clearly well hosted by the Timurids. However, the official diplomatic meetings which the Spaniard wished to have with Timur never occurred. After successive delays, he decided to leave the court and return to Europe late in 1404. What he did not know when he left was that Timur had been unable to grant him an audience as he was preparing for a new campaign. This time, he intended to head eastwards to wage war on the might of China and overthrow the Ming dynasty that had usurped the Mongol Yuan dynasty there back in 1368. There were also reports that Timur had been sick during Clavijo's time in Samarkand, and these were evidently true. His campaign against the Chinese never materialized. Not long after setting off, he fell ill near Otrar, in what is now Kazakhstan, and died on the 18th of February 1405, after becoming bedridden with a severe fever. Though he had stated his wish that his remains would be laid to rest in his native Kesh, Timur's body was placed in an ebony coffin and taken back to Samarkand, where he was interred in the Gur-e-Amir mosque that he had ordered the construction of not long before. Over a period of 4 decades, Timur had built an absolutely enormous empire across Central Asia and into the Middle East the largest Mongol state seen since the empire of Genghis Khan had been divided up over 100 years earlier. However, it had been built on the back of the formidable abilities of this conqueror and ruler, and was held together in part because of the fearsome reputation he had propagated to the world. The problem with building an empire in this way is that it is prone to quickly contracting or even collapsing once the ruler that held it together dies or otherwise departs from the scene. This is what happened in the case of the Timurid Empire to a certain extent. It did not collapse, but it did contract very considerably in the 20 years or so after Timur's time. The succession started this process. It was disputed between several of his sons and grandsons, Khalil, Pir Mohammed, and Shahrukh Mirza. Civil war followed until Shahrukh claimed control over Samarkand from Khalil.
Civil war proceeded. That's... I'm speaking, truck. That's just the most common thing. It's as soon as someone dies, now all the sons or whatever, they all... It's amazing how they didn't build it, but they'll kill anyone in their way because they believe that that's theirs. Okay? You get it. You're not the same. Usually, they're not the same ruler. So what happens? They end up losing things. I don't know, and I'm sure there are, but off the top of my head, I can't think of many civil wars where the children fought or whatever. The person came in and did a phenomenal job, like a better job than the first. Doesn't seem to happen. Now, are there? Sure, there probably are. Just no names are coming to me. But always guaranteed is the people are going to fight over control of something that they didn't build. Oh, that drives me crazy. I don't know what, it just annoys me.
In 1409, and united the empire under his sole rule. Although this civil war was a short one, it was sufficiently disruptive that rebellions began breaking out against Timurid rule, particularly so in the very remote parts of the empire in the Caucasus and the Middle East.
That was beautiful.
Karakoyunlu.
What a phenomenal view. That's nice.
Parts of the empire in the Caucasus and the Middle East. Karakoyunlu was revived, and Akkoyunlu claimed control over much of the Middle Eastern territories again. Shahrukh spent much of his long reign down to 1447 waging war against these powers in an unsuccessful attempt to reclaim them. A rapid turnover of rulers in the late 1440s and early 1450s saw the empire fragment. Several competent rulers emerged in the second half of the 15th century, yet constant civil wars saw the Timurid Empire shrink by the 1480s to an area approximating to just modern-day Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, northern Afghanistan, eastern Iran, and part of Turkmenistan. Out of the seeming ruins of Timur's empire, another great one began to emerge a century after his death, in much the same way that Timur himself had constructed a mighty Central Asian empire out of the remnants of Genghis Khan's Mongol Empire. In the mid-1490s, his great-great-great-grandson Zahir-ud-Din succeeded as emir of the city of Fergana. Though he was only a child at the time, he set out on a campaign of conquests in the late 1490s and early 1500s, which established him as a powerful lord over part of the Timurid territory. He then used his base to conquer Afghanistan from his rivals, and this then became the basis for him to follow in his great-great-great-grandfather's footsteps and campaign south into India. Today, this descendant of Timur is known by the nickname he adopted for himself, Babur, meaning tiger. Over the first quarter of the 16th century.
That sounds familiar. I've heard that name before.
century, Babur and his Turkic-Mongol armies conquered much of Pakistan and northwestern India, culminating in 1526 in the capture of the city of Delhi. With this, Timurid power was transferred south to rule over Afghanistan, Pakistan and northern India. Persian and then European observers came to know this great Indian state as the Moghul or Mughal Empire, a derivation of Mongol, in recognition that the rulers of this empire were descended via Timur from the Mongols of Genghis Khan's time. The Mughal Empire would rule over northern India and Pakistan for 300 years and would only be gradually reduced and then entirely conquered by the English East India Company. In the Taj Mahal and other magnificent buildings erected by the Mughal rulers in India can be seen elements of the Timurid architectural style developed in Samarkand and Bukhara in the late 14th century. Hence, while Timur's empire quickly contracted after his own death in the 15th century, its impact on the history of Asia was still being felt hundreds of years later in India. There was one final twist in the tale of Timur's life that has added a further air of mystery to his story and the violence of it. In the time following his death, a legend developed that Timur's tomb in Samarkand was cursed and that anyone who disturbed his resting place would bring destruction upon themselves. It is believed that an early realization of this curse came in 1740. That year, Nader Shah Afshar, ruler of the new Persian Empire, conquered the city of Samarkand. Legend has it that he visited Timur's tomb and took a jade slab from it as a memento. Not long after, back in Persia, the Shah's son became ill. Nader Shah's advisors counseled him to return the jade stone to the tomb of Timur, which he did. His son's health then miraculously improved. While this story seems a bit fantastical, there is a concrete factual basis for events almost exactly 2 centuries later. In the summer of 1941, a Russian historian and anthropologist, Mikhail Gerasimov, led a Soviet expedition to Samarkand to investigate Timur's tomb. When they arrived, 3 elderly locals approached them to warn them against opening the sarcophagus containing Timur's remains.
Why would you want to open it anyways? That to me is just disrespectful. Like, just go to it and pay your respects or whatever. Don't open it. It's just rude.
They went ahead anyway, and lore has it that an inscription was found on the inside declaring that a great vengeance would be brought on those who disturbed Timur's rest. A few days later, Nazi Germany invaded the Soviet Union. It is estimated that around 25 to 27 million Soviet soldiers and citizens would lose their lives over the next 4 years. So concerned was the Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin about the implications of opening Timur's tomb that he ordered that a formal Islamic reburial should be carried out in November 1942. Right around this time, the Soviets turned the tide in the Second World War by launching Operation Uranus that led to the encirclement of the German Sixth Army at the Battle of Stalingrad. Given the coincidental timing of all of this, it's no surprise that the alleged curse of Timur's tomb has generated a lot of interest over the years. Timur.
On a side note, anybody remember that doll that I had that was behind me? It creeped out a lot of people. I named it Kate Batts. I got it when I went to the Bell Witch Cave in Tennessee. There's a thing where people have taken rocks from the cave. I did not. Why test fate, right? People have taken rocks from the cave and they tell you, don't do that. People taking rocks, they leave, they can get a block away. Car accident. One woman got a few miles away, pulled into a gas station to fill up, opened up her door, put her foot out, stepped to get up out of her car, and for some reason her ankle just decided to go, "Mwah," and her ankle just broke when she was stepping out to get out of her car. Somebody else made it home. They were in Tennessee. Made it home. I think it was a freak storm. Blew through. Tree went down right into their house. Like the guy got his face scratched up from the branches and whatnot. Oh, come on, camera. But yeah, so they were saying don't do it. People did it. And the lady showed me all of the, no, I have it on my phone. She showed me the letters that people sent with that rock. And they just said, look, I got it in the entryway long hall. If you could just put it back. I got it in the first, past entry in the first area of the cave. And then there's another entry that goes deeper into the cave. And there's a second one, which is where that eagle's back was. If you remember any of those, the video. But yeah, they were like, just here's the rock, return it. And the people said after they returned the rock, nothing. No more problem. I joked that I was going to take something. I'm not doing that. No.
The founder of the Timurid Empire was a ruler of contrasts. He rose from relative obscurity in what is now Uzbekistan to begin carving out his own kingdom in the 1360s. He managed to establish a large state in Central Asia out of the collapsing Chagatai Khanate. After consolidating his rule here by claiming descent through marriage from Genghis Khan, he then embarked on an ever more ambitious set of military campaigns. These saw him capture the city of Baghdad, the capital of the once proud Arab Caliphate, twice, while also foraying into the Caucasus. He even campaigned into India as well, in between his Middle Eastern conquests. By the time he was done, he had created an empire that stretched from Syria to the Himalayas, and from Russia around the Ural Mountains, south to the Indus River. Yet the conquests came at a terrible price. Ancient and noble cities like Delhi and Damascus were devastated by his armies, and his campaigns are understood to have led to the deaths of millions of people, though the precise figure can only be guessed at. And then there was a completely different side to Timur. When not at war, he oversaw the construction of a great city at Samarkand, one where artists, scholars and religious figures were given patronage, and immense buildings like the Gur-e-Amir Mosque were erected. The empire he left behind would also have a long shelf life after his descendant Babur established the Mughal Empire in India, a state that would preserve the legacy of the Timurid Empire down to the 19th century. In short, he was a complex ruler, like Genghis Khan before him, a hugely violent figure who was not without cultural achievements. What do you think of Emperor Timur? Was he the...
You know, at the end, they said something that I had said. I just don't like the violence, the 10 to 20 million people he killed. That's one thing that drives me crazy. But it's easy to say that now because I'm not living in that time. I'm not going through any of that. Maybe he did it because he had to. In order to have that large of a territory, you can't be a pushover. And he was known to visit a lot of the cities that he controlled. People have to fear you when you have that vast of an empire. So I don't like it, but I understand, because when you rule with an iron fist and people see that you are truly capable of horrific things, they're going to be more apt to listen and try to stay out of the way. As opposed to, if you're a bit of a pushover and you have a lot of territory, people might say, I really like the guy, but I could do better. Look at all these people, man. They just, they don't follow what he says. He's too easy. I'll be honest. I think we could be better if we just got rid of him. And that's all it takes. When you have people who rule with that iron fist, they don't trust anyone around them. So the likelihood that you're going to have someone have that conversation with someone else, that someone else doesn't want anything to do with it. Because if somebody else heard, if a third party heard, that third party goes and says, hey, look, I caught these two people talking about replacing you. But like, replacing you. They're going to be dead within the hour. You're not going to have that conversation with someone like him or Khan, for fear that, completely capable of it. So maybe that is necessary in that time. I don't know. It's easy to judge it now and say, I don't like it. And I don't. But I have to be fair, because I don't understand everything that happened in his time. And it seems like there was a lot of fighting everywhere. And all those countries are so packed together. And there was just a lot of fighting. So, yeah, maybe that's what you had to do. Anyways, enough of my blather. We're going to end this here. I hope you enjoyed, because I did. I learned a lot about this gentleman, and I'll tell you what, I do appreciate it. I'm glad I didn't know anything about that name until I did the last Ottoman video, and he captured Bayezid, excuse me. Or is it Bayezid? Bayezid. Either way, whichever one's wrong, sorry. And I was rooting against him. Oh, I was rooting against him so hard. Then they had the battle, and I thought, it annoyed me because Timur was smart. He convinced one side to turn, and then had another side just completely freak out and turn on Bayezid, and it was like, And I kind of thought, there's something to this guy if they're willing to do that. And he had already had this empire building up, and I don't remember any of that, of his previous empire. But makes sense, because he built his empire rather fast. All right, look, I'm going to shut up. I'm just talking now. I hope you enjoyed. If there's any other people like him, I definitely want to know. I want to watch a video on him. So until next time, have a good day, have a good night.